Hello, cooking enthusiasts. This week's video is all about a recipe inspired by Mexican street food. I would say al pastor is probably one of the most well-known traditional tacos from Mexico of marinated pork slices cooked on a vertical spit, and obviously a number of the flavors are already dried spices, but I wanted to try capturing the entire flavor profile in a dry spice mixture. So as you can see, we're working with a lot of whole spices. The most important, of course, are the dried chilies. We are using cascabel chilies because they are particularly mild, and ancho would be another good option along those lines. Also in the pan is whole peppercorns as well as annatto seeds, which probably should have been toasted separately, but it all worked out. Like with the chilies, I would recommend working with the peppercorns as whole, but with the annatto, it's less critical, and you could just mix it with annatto powder. From there, it's just about grinding everything in batches, even the ingredients like garlic powder or dried oregano, it's good to grind with everything else so it becomes incorporated. One of my favorite tricks when researching recipes like this is to search the name of the dish along with the word recipe in the native language, in this case, Spanish. So I compared just over a dozen al pastor recipes, some from English websites, but primarily from Spanish language sources. From there, I had to make some creative choices because there wasn't total consistency between recipes, although there were obviously pretty standard core ingredients. And again, I also wanted this to potentially work as a completely dry spice mix, even if in this exact instance I was converting it into a liquid marinade. So that is why the mixture includes garlic powder, which is meant to represent the fresh garlic in many recipes. But my biggest deviation from those recipes is adding sumac, which is obviously not a traditional recipe. I think something that could also work would be substituting it with hibiscus. What this represents is all of the various acidic notes that are in al pastor marinades, both from vinegar, but also often pineapple juice and potentially two or three types of citrus juice. So I felt that sumac added a lot of those fruity citrus notes so that even when making it a liquid marinade, it just needs a little vinegar, but is still very complex. And for context, this was Easter and turkey was on sale, which is why we are marinating slices of turkey breast instead of pork shoulder, and it was potentially a little too much of the spice mixture, but it worked out. Then we decided to do the turkey legs separately, and this time we were working with it as just a dry mixture. Again, this was too much of the spices because it didn't really adhere properly, but all of the actual flavors I wanted did come through. I have made some adjusted recommendations for the recipe calculator in the video description. The calculator will also let you make just the spice mixture on its own, and then you can apply it as you see necessary. There's also two different ways of calculating the spice measurement. Either you can type in how much annatto powder or seeds you have, because that will probably be the limiting factor, or you can just type in a total of how much of the mixture you want to make, and it will give you all of the relevant measurements. As for the turkey legs, after adding all of the spices, we refrigerated overnight. So, jumping to the next day, we cooked this turkey leg section pretty simply, and I'm going to fast forward through quite a bit of this because there wasn't anything too interesting with this actual cooking procedure. It was cooked pretty much just low and slow on the gas barbecue until it reached roughly a good internal temperature, and you can see the spice crust developed some nice color. Also served on the side with some grilled pineapple, since pineapple is classically on the top of a vertical spit for tacos al pastor. In the end, the flavors were pretty good. Again, we could have regulated the spice quantity a bit better, and it was a little dry, but everybody really loved the tacos. And this was a really nice preparation to do with the fresh, homemade blue popcorn tortillas. And if you haven't seen that video yet, you definitely should. Finally, we turn back to the turkey breast slices, which again were marinated in a more liquid mixture. Because we didn't need them that first day, we actually froze this, and this last footage is roughly a week later. Because this was slightly closer to standard al pastor, I thought I would try putting these turkey breast slices onto a skewer because I thought that actually might somewhat replicate what the protein experiences on a vertical spit. My thinking was that with a proper trumpo, which is the giant stack of meat slices, only the very surface is experiencing direct high heat, and then the interior of the stack is having a much more gentle high moisture cooking. I think we could have butchered it a little bit differently, maybe thinner slices, would have been better, but essentially we are starting with a gentle high moisture cooking, which in this case is the ANOVA steam oven set to 60 Celsius sous vide. And you could also get pretty close with any regular oven or grill, essentially set as low as possible with the protein covered. Then we are finishing with the high temperature grilling, which is replicating what happens when the outermost bits of protein are in contact with the burners of the vertical spit, as well as carved off and refried. Overall, though, I'm really happy with this entire project, especially with the actual spice mixture itself. I really hope you check out the recipe calculator and maybe even make a little batch. And I'm excited to improve on the actual cooking using this flavor profile. So let me know if you have any questions about any of these processes. Otherwise, thank you for watching.